I ruin everything. I'm not lovable. There's something wrong with me. These thoughts don't shout, they whisper, quietly, repeatedly, and we believe them, not because they're true, but because they started so long ago. We forgot to question them. That's shame, not guilt over what we did, but the belief that we ourselves are broken. One woman said, "I still remember when my father looked at me like I was a mistake. I was 7. That one moment shaped the next 30 years of her life. Every relationship, every success, every silence, filtered through that old pain." Buddha once said, "One who sees their own faults is wise." Dhammapada 252. But seeing with wisdom is not the same as condemning. It means we see the pain, without becoming it. We see the wound, without saying, "This is who I am." You are not your worst moment. You are not the voice that says you're too much, or not enough. You are the one who hears it, and can learn to speak more kindly. Shame grows in silence. It feeds on secrecy. But the Buddha's way is presence, clear seeing, and compassion, not to destroy what hurts, but to hold it until it softens. We learn to hide behind smiles, achievements, perfect answers, because if they saw the real us, would they still love us? So we perform, we achieve, we stay busy. One man said, "I thought if I worked hard enough, no one would notice how empty I felt inside." But shame doesn't leave when we succeed. It just hides deeper. Buddha said, "Like a beautiful flower full of color but without fragrance, so are well-spoken words without action." Dhammapada 51. When our outer life looks strong, but the inside is aching, that's the flower without fragrance. The mask protects us, but it also isolates us. Because if love is based on the mask, it never feels real. True connection requires something else. Vulnerability. Not to expose ourselves carelessly, but to be honest with someone safe. To say, "This is hard for me. I don't feel enough. I'm trying." And let that truth be met with kindness. The Buddha didn't ask us to be perfect. He asked us to be real. Healing doesn't begin with fixing. It begins with truth. A soft, honest truth that says, "I hurt. I blame myself. I want to feel whole again." The Buddha never asked us to hide our pain. He asked us to understand it, to sit with it, to hold it in compassion, not judgment. He said, "As a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not shaken by praise or blame." Dhammapada 81. That includes self-blame, because the storm isn't always outside. Sometimes, it's the voice within. But when you meet that voice with presence, not resistance, it starts to soften. There's a story of a monk who, as a young man, was cruel to others. Years later, he became deeply ashamed. He thought he was unworthy of peace. His teacher said, "Regret is not your enemy. It's just your heart waking up." That's the beginning, not in hating your past, but in holding it with love. Because shame says, "You are broken," but the Dharma says, "You are healing." Let yourself be in process. Not finished, not perfect, just honest. That is the beginning of freedom. Not pretending but telling the truth, gently. To yourself. And maybe, one day, to someone else. Shame says you're not worthy of love. The path says you already are. But how do we return to something we've never truly believed? One small moment at a time. You catch yourself in self-criticism, and pause. You notice the tightness and breathe. You stop performing and just be. That's what healing looks like. Not a dramatic transformation, but a gentle remembering. I'm not less than anyone. Buddha said, you yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. Dhammapada 276. This means the path to worthiness is not granted, it's realized. It's not something others can give you. It's something you reclaim. Through presence, through patience, through practice. There's a woman who, every morning, places her hand on her heart and says, I am learning to love what I once tried to hide. That's it, not perfection, not confidence, just willingness. Willingness to stop proving, to stop hiding, to stop fighting yourself. Because when you stop running from shame, you start returning to yourself. And you remember, you are not a mistake. You are a human being on a path of awakening. To live beyond shame is not to never feel it again, but to no longer obey it. Shame may visit, but it doesn't get to drive. Buddha's way is not the way of perfection. It is the way of liberation. He said, just as a snake sheds its old skin, so must we shed the past again and again. Inspired by early teachings, each day, you have the chance to let go of the story that says, I'm not enough. You have the choice to speak kindly to yourself, to forgive what you once held in contempt, to offer compassion to the parts of you that still feel unworthy. Not because you've earned it, but because you're human, because you suffer, and because you're learning. There is no shame in having shame, only in letting it silence your light. You are not here to be flawless. You are here to be real, to fall and rise, to love and be hurt, and choose to love again. And slowly, you'll see, the more gently you meet your pain, the less power it has. And the more you live from presence, the less you need to hide. Buddha didn't promise a life without wounds. He promised that even our wounds can become doors to wisdom.